Hi, I'm David Essel, and I want to welcome you to our free training program, Codependency Kills. Codependency is the largest addiction in the world, and most people don't even know what it was or what it is. In 1997, I had the wake-up call in my life when another counselor asked me if I would exchange services. In other words, I'd counsel her and she'd counsel me. I said, absolutely. She had some things she wanted to break through, and I thought I could use the help. I didn't know why, but I thought I could use the help. At the end of 30 days, she said to me, David, I've got this most amazing breakthrough information for you. And I was so excited until she told me this: David Essel, you are the most codependent man I've ever met in my life. I was blown away. Here I had believed, as someone in the personal growth industry now for 40 years, I had believed I was the most independent man in the world. I mean, after all, in 1980, I started my first business, my first private company. And here we are now today, and we still have multiple businesses that are going constantly. How could David Essel be codependent in life? As I was about to find out, I committed 52 straight weeks with this counselor in order to not only shatter my own codependency, but to get a really good grip on what codependency is so I can share this with you today. In 2002, we came up with the quote, "Codependency is by far the largest addiction in the world." Now, most people look at codependency as, they're married to an alcoholic and they're codependent because they stay. That is like the tiniest sliver of what really codependency is. Codependency has such a broad definition that it's hard to even get people to understand it until we spend a lot of time working with individuals, which we do every day via Skype and phone from all over the world, and of course in our offices in Fort Myers, Florida. So what is codependency and why is it so hard to shatter? Well, I mentioned it's the largest addiction in the world, which surprises a lot of people. But codependency in relationships, that's the main gist of what I'm going to share with you today. Of course, if, like myself, if you are an alcoholic or a former alcoholic, I shattered my addiction to alcohol and cocaine years ago, but I was codependent on those substances. What does that mean? It means that before I went to a party or a dinner or out on a date, I would have several drinks at home to warm myself up. What I found out later was that I had extreme social anxiety. That combined with, and this was a shocker, it was a shocker to me, very low self-esteem and confidence, very low self-confidence leads one to become codependent in life. Now, if you're sitting there, please take notes, okay? Don't trust your brain to remember a thing, because what I'm going to share with you can be confusing at first, but the more you work on it, the more you work with it, the easier it becomes to shatter your own procrastination in order to deal with codependency. Now, when I talk to my clients, I say to them that codependency has 1,000 spokes on a wheel. There's so many different types of codependency. So what is it? Codependency is a fear of being rejected. Now, we're talking about codependency in relationships. Remember a little while ago I said if you drink every night or if you binge drink, and maybe that's once a month or once every 6 months, if you're dependent on nicotine, if you're dependent on food, if you're, in other words, you're an emotional eater, those are all examples of codependency. But what we really want to focus on, the biggest part of codependency, is codependency in relationships. So people who are codependent in relationships have a fear of being critiqued, a fear of rejection, a fear of abandonment, a fear of being singled out, a fear of being embarrassed, a fear of failing, a fear of succeeding. The list goes on and on. In other words, now, let me back up for a second. Every human being, of course, has some fear of being rejected or criticized or abandoned. That's natural. But the codependent puts it on steroids. So their fear of being rejected, abandoned, left, the fear of being criticized regularly, the fear of being told they're not good enough or they're not smart enough is so huge that when they're in relationships, which can be with family members, it can be with friends, it can be with lovers, that they will stay in a toxic environment because they are afraid of being left alone, criticized, critiqued, etc. Right? They have a fear of rocking the boat. They don't want people to be upset with them. They want everyone to like them. And that's where my codependency began. When I was a little kid until 1997, when I finally shattered it, I craved attention. I craved validation from the outside world. I needed people to like me, to love me. I needed people to stand up at the end of a lecture in front of 5,000 people and go crazy clapping. I needed that in order to feel validated as a human being. An independent person, on the other hand, will be really happy regardless if they get any validation at all. In other words, they go through life doing what they enjoy, doing what they need to do, and if people like it, great, and if they don't like it, great. In other words, they don't have a fear of other people judging them. They're just going to be who they are. Do you know many people like that? I can tell you I don't. In 30 years as a counselor and a life coach, I will tell you this. From all over the world, I have helped people shatter their codependency and be able to express their emotions and feelings with a partner or a family member or a friend that partner, family member, or friend may not be interested in hearing. But we help our codependent clients go from that fear to being confident in life. Now, codependency also comes from the concept of craving. And it's the opposite of the fear, right? But it's the same mentality. We crave to be accepted, to be included, to be liked. Peer pressure is huge for the codependent. So if the next door neighbor gets a brand new car and a brand new boat and a brand new $3,000 purse, the codependent person will feel left out, like they need to keep up with the Joneses, right? With peer pressure, if you're trying to battle with alcohol and get rid of it, but your friends call you and go, oh God, come on, it's Friday night, and you go, that's being codependent. So we want to shatter that peer pressure. If someone asks you to do something and it's not in your best interest or you have no interest in doing it, the independent person says, hey, thank you very much for inviting me out, but you know, I'm cutting way back down on alcohol and I don't really have an interest in going out, but thanks for trying to include me. Or if you're battling with your weight and you're at someone's house for dinner and they say, oh my God, I made this special dessert just for you. Well, the codependent person says, oh my God, if she did it just for me, if he did it just for me, I better take it. See, that's codependency. The independent person says, hey, you know what? I want to thank you so much for going out of your way and making that dessert, but I'm not consuming any sugar right now. Thank you so much for the offer then. Isn't that amazing? See, the world of codependency has a tendency to destroy self-confidence, self-esteem. As a matter of fact, when we look at what's the foundation, what's the starting point of codependency, it's low self-esteem and low self-confidence, which leads us to be affected by things like peer pressure, or maybe there's a big sale and your friends are going to the sale and you don't have money, but you go anyway and put it on your credit card, and then at the end of the month you go, why the heck did I do that? That's codependency. Where does codependency start? Oh my Lord. From 0 to 18. Imagine this. You're in a household and you're growing up from 0 to 18, and all around you is maybe a mom that's an enabler. Dad may be an alcoholic, a workaholic, a womanizer. He may spend way too much money, and mom, she may complain and nag, but she doesn't do anything about it. And so you're raised in this environment where you see mom enabling dad to carry on with all these unhealthy practices, and you become an adult and you do the same thing. On the other end of the spectrum, now that's the enabler, right? On the other end of the spectrum of codependency is the controller, the person that has to have things done their way, the person that has to be right all the time, the person that when someone's telling the story how they just went and spent a week in Jamaica, those people are the ones that go, oh, Jamaica? Oh, that's nothing like going to the deserts in Africa. I spent 30 days there. You should hear these stories I've got to tell you now. Since you told us about Jamaica, I'm going to blow you away with what happened in Africa. See, that's codependency. That's someone who has very low self-confidence and very low self-esteem. So they want to one-up people. Is all this making sense? You know, with codependency, we're afraid of rocking the boat. We are actually like bamboo trees. We will blow in the wind with whoever we're with. So let's say we're with a group right now and they love the president and they love the vice president of the United States of America, and let's say that you don't. But you're with a group of people and they're talking about how they love the president, and you're nodding and you're smiling and you are codependent. See, the independent person would say, wow, all these people like these individuals that I don't, I'm just going to listen. I'm not going to nod my head. I'm not going to agree because I don't agree. I may not need to go out and state my opinion of how I feel about these people, but I'm surely not going to sit here and nod my head and smile. I'm going to be independent. Now, the independent person would stand there very stoically, listening with no response, or they may walk away, or they may speak up. There isn't a right or wrong here, but the key is the independent person is not going to go along with groups of people or mass consciousness or their partner or their best friend or their family if they know it's not the right place for them. Codependency shatters our already low self-esteem and already low self-confidence. A lot of people who are codependent in relationships will also be codependent with substances. And why is that? When you have really low self-esteem and really low confidence, and that's what I had. Now, this, I'll tell you why it was so blown me away to hear this from my counselors, because as I mentioned, I've been speaking for, 30 plus, almost 40 years in front of huge audiences. I hosted a nationally syndicated radio show with millions of listeners every Saturday and Sunday for 27 years. The world perceived me as being outrageously confident and filled with self-esteem, which is self-love. But when you're a raging alcoholic and you agree to go out several nights a week, every week, 52 weeks a year because you want to be included, you don't want to miss out, that's being codependent in nature. If you're spending money you don't have, that's being codependent in nature. If you're hanging around with people who put other people down, maybe they put other genders down, maybe they put individuals from other countries down, and they're always having an opinion about how all these people are wrong and they're right, and you hang out with those people, you're codependent. Now, if you want to stand up and be strong and state your opinion, that's great. Or you may decide to be silent, or you may decide to end the friendship or the relationship. You may even decide to end the relationship with a family member who isn't treating you properly, and they haven't for years. See, it takes a lot of strength to be an independent person. Now, I want you to think about everything I just shared with you. As I mentioned earlier, there are 12,000, not just 2,000, 12,000 spokes. As we get into working with people with codependency, they see it expand. It's not this narrow little addiction. It is massive. It will destroy your mental health. Codependency will destroy, through stress, your physical health. It might rip up your finances as you spend more money than you can afford to trying to keep up with people. It will destroy relationships. When you stay in relationships that are unhealthy, you are destroying your self-esteem and self-confidence. So look around yourself right now. Are you dating or married to someone who's outrageously obnoxious and treats you terribly? That's being codependent. We need to shatter this so that we can boost our self-esteem and confidence. Now, I'm going to show you this right here. This is our manual. Codependency Kills. Can you see that? We created this in 2002 to help people break through codependency and go to the next level. And let me read the full title. Codependency Kills our relationships, self-esteem, health, finances, confidence, and our future. And it's true. This is a 10-hour course designed to shatter codependency, to allow you to become that powerful, independent person who's not rude to everyone, doesn't tell everyone off every day. That's not being independent. Actually, that's being codependent to anger and rage, right? The independent person, which is what happens when you go through this course with me. The independent person, of course, lets go of substances that are addictive in nature, that they're dependent on. They may let go of television if they watch too much of it. They may let go of political shows and news if they're too engaged in it and it's not healthy. They may let go of people. And sometimes, at the end of the course, these individuals, and remember, we've been teaching this for a very long time, will awaken to their own personal power. That's what I want for you. Now, you can take this course with me, 10 hours, it's 10 weeks long. We meet together one-on-one for 1 hour a week via phone or Skype or in person in our Fort Myers, Florida offices, and we will work through it together. There's a #1 best-selling book that comes with the course, as well as this outrageous manual. Join me, won't you? Become one of the few who rises through codependency, creates outrageously high self-esteem and confidence in order to become that independent person in life. When you become that independent person, you will attract an awesome independent partner. You will attract incredible independent friends. You will create businesses through your independence that will rock your world. And that's what I want for you. Go to talkdavid.com right now. Sign up for the course, Codependency Kills. Mention that you saw this video, and we will take $200 off the course price for Codependency Kills. It's the largest addiction in the world. Remember, go to talkdavid.com. You can read even more about codependency and what you get with that course, Codependency Kills, and then send us an email and say, hey, I watched David on this video with a training video, understanding a little bit more about codependency. I want to take the course with him, and I want to save $200. My team, which are amazingly independent, powerful people, will set you up with me, and you and I will rock together. And that's what I want. I want you to experience life as a confident, independent person who takes risks, who might fail, but they don't get stuck. See, in codependency, we become victims, we become enablers, we become afraid of taking chances, we become afraid of failing. We start to live in this tiny little box. There's no joy and no fun at all. The independent person, hey, they know they're going to take risks. Some they'll win and some they'll lose. But it doesn't affect them because their identity isn't created around if what they do, they win. That's codependency. The independent person says, I'm going after it. I'm going to write this book, and if it doesn't become a bestseller, I'll write another one. The independent person says, you know, I'm sick and tired of this addiction to food or alcohol. I'm going to break free. I'm going to get help, even if it means I lose my best friends who want to stay in their old life. The independent person is calm, centered, passionate, and successful. Are you ready? Are you willing to put in the time and the effort to change your life radically? I can tell you that it was a big wake-up call for me. Taking that course or going through the work with the counselor in 1997 showed me how incredibly afraid I was to be honest with girlfriends or wives, how sometimes I didn't share my opinion with best friends, how I allowed individuals to walk all over me because I wanted everyone to like me. Now, that sounds nice, but it really sucks. If you want to be happy in life, you're never going to please everyone. You need to have people around you who are healthy. And if you choose to stay with people that aren't, it's going to be impossible to become an independent person. So are you ready? Are you ready to shatter the old mold of codependency and walk into that powerful independent self? Let's do it together. Save $200. Send an email right now to talkdavid.com and my team will set you up. I'm excited. You and I together will shatter codependency. We will help you become the most independent person you could ever imagine and watch your life radically change for the better. I'm David Essel, excited to share this training video with you and even more excited to work with you one-on-one. We will rock at talkdavid.com. Have a great day.